documentaries, your own films, tell your stories about yourself. With creating the content, figure out what type of content you want to create. Filmmaking includes all the other arts. When it comes to filmmaking, you tend to need a crew.
It's about storytelling and marketing, and you've been in it for a number of years. So why don't you start off by telling your story and who you are and what you do?
So I go by Flick Rick. I've been in the business of filmmaking and television production for over 20 years. I've worked with a lot of different, production companies, from, all the TV ones like Discovery, VH1, Viacom, BET, all of those. And I've also worked on feature films and different things like that. But my passion is filmmaking.
So what got you into filmmaking?
Since I was a kid, I was always interested in film since I was like 8, 9 years old. My first movie in the theater was Home Alone. And I was, blown away by a kid being at home and how that whole thing happened. And then Ninja Turtles came out. And there was a whole nother story behind that, which how that blew my mind. And I stood in the theater the whole time watching it because I was so like in shock that my favorite cartoon, was in real life. So ever since then, I have this thing where I wanted to know how movies were made. And when I got to high school, they shot a movie at my high school, and that just got me another step closer to wanting to do it. And then when I was like 23, I decided I'm going to stop doing architecture and get into that.
That's a wonderful story. So you are a filmmaker, but also you create content.
I create content as well.
In the various facets outside of just filmmaking. Mm-hmm. You worked in the music industry also, or at least to create the visuals.
Yeah, just like adjacent to. Like I've worked with artists, of course, doing music videos and content for them, things like that.
So what are the nuances? What are the differences between filmmaking and creating content for the music industry?
There is a difference, but there's not much of a difference, if that makes sense. Like the difference is, of course, content is short form. You can have a quick idea, but you still want to implement your like a filmmaking aspect to it because you want to tell a story from beginning to end, even if it's 1 minute. So even in the music video, you want to, give it that story arc. So everything has it. If you really think about it, commercials have it, music videos have it. Even when Vine was out and guys were making 6-minute clips, they implemented the storytelling of filmmaking, and so it's in everything pretty much.
Right. But one thing that I think a lot of musicians can do, they can branch out of the sort of for type of content.
Mm-hmm.
And there's plenty of documentaries, plenty of artists who put out their own films, like Taylor Swift and the whole 9 yards. But how can an artist, any artist who is wanting or who wants to brand themselves, how can they branch into film outside of just like the TikToks or the Instagram shorts of the world?
Well, the first thing is, in my opinion, would be to keep the cameras rolling as much as you can for like documenting type content, which would be the easiest if you really think about it. If you want to do long form content, would be documentaries, podcasts, maybe about your music. And if you're talking like films, that's a different kind of beast.
Let's get into it. What type of beast is filmmaking, and especially for the musicians who are eager to tap into that world of content, because that's a different beast, like you said.
Yeah.
And there's so many verticals to it. So what type of beast is that? What does that include into that content creation?
Well, if you think about it, so if you're making music, you could literally be one guy making music. You can get a laptop, whatever, and make your music. Let's say if you're a painter, you could just get a canvas. You could be one guy making a painting. So all the different arts. If you were a designer, you could design. But when it comes to filmmaking, you tend to need a crew. You need to build a team around that, because filmmaking includes all the other arts.
100%.
So you kind of need to have multifaceted people, especially if you're not big budgets, where you can, have one person for every single department. Um, so, filmmaking has the music in it, and it has the art in it, has the set design, it has, visually, you have to understand it visually, sonically, all of those things. So when it comes to music, and if you're going from music into filmmaking, there you kind of can't do the solo thing.
Right, of
So we
course.
kind of want to get into like, okay, have a team, have guys who have different skills in yourself. You're the music guy, but you need somebody visually who can see, or maybe you can see it visually too. I know a lot of music guys who got into film and they're doing great because they just understand. It's still the same kind of, I guess, that side of your brain still works the same for creative. Yeah, it's creative. But it's more so just understand you're using more of your senses when it comes to film. You're using your ears, your eyes, your creativeness physically, because you got to pick up a camera, you got to move around, you got to stay angles, you got to do all this kind of thing. So, and I think a lot of people today already get it. Everyone's got a phone, everyone's shooting, and everyone's watching what everyone else is doing, and they're mimicking it. So even if you just got into it today, you watched it so much that you could just pick up a camera and start shooting. So as a musician, you should be able to do documentaries, your own films, tell your stories about yourself. Maybe the stories that you're saying, that you're telling in your music, because there a lot of times artists tell music, write their music from real life things that were going on in experiences, perspectives. So just taking that and turning it into a script.
100.
And that's soft. There's plenty of software out there where you could just you could take your song, put it in there, and it'll just help you write the whole thing. So it's like, I have artists that I work with, one in particular that I did a video for. I love working with him because all of his music is a story.
Right.
And I've been trying to get him to write a script because he's so good with lyrics, but his lyrics, although he's rapping, he's telling a story,
Right, of course. And
from beginning to end. Like literally, it's like a whole thing. And so every time we shoot a video, I get to exercise that skill. I'm not too much of a glitz and glamour type music video. I love the storytelling videos, so that's what when I have done them, that's what I try to do the most.
so let's circle back into the whole team. As someone who's been in music, been in the studio, but also in the film studio, been in the music department, in the film. There's lots of music. There's lots of moving parts. There's a lot of people that you need to collaborate with to get the product done. How do you, as a director, put that together? Or how an artist who wants to be in those shoes, or maybe executive produce, whatever the case might be, put together the people to help them get that story out, to finish that product?
Well, first you have to. There's a lot of chances you have to take with the people that you trust. Because at first, let's say you don't know anybody, and you just come to like an event like this, and you start meeting people. You gotta hear the person, um, believe that they can do what they can do. So if you meet somebody and say, "Oh, I'm a camera person," okay, cool. But if you don't know that person just picked up a camera last month, then there's a difference between that guy and some guy who's been filming for like the past 10, 15, 20 years. His skill level is going to be different. So you're going to have to be able to discern, okay, look, I need this level of quality, but what's your budget's like too? Like,
Right, of course. Budget is as big.
so it's really from that place as an artist, not knowing, It's really just trusting people and doing it over and over until you work with this guy, you like him, he did this position. Of course, online you can learn the different positions and things like that.
Right.
For you to know who you need to hire to execute your project. Um, yeah, actually, online would be what I would first suggest. Go there and learn the process, learn the different, because you got your executive producer who's paying for it, and you got your producers, and you have your director, and you have your DP, then you have your camera operators, your art department, your sound department, your grip, electric, PAs, you know what I mean? And then everybody else. Then you got casting and you got pre-production, so it's like there's a lot that goes into it. Um, I've been fortunate. I've been doing it for over 20 years, so I've had a chance to touch every department.
Right.
So it comes to me a little easy right now if I have to do a project. Like my last 3 films that I produced, I was lead producer on them, and I just, okay, cool. I know this is supposed to happen. I understand what every position is supposed to do, and we just execute. But that's because I've had that experience. But if you're asking me, an artist who has no idea how this is supposed to work and they want to jump in, do you got to actually find a producer who just knows what they're doing and start from there, and you'll learn. Okay, cool. He had to hire this guy. He had to hire that guy. That guy. And of course, whatever your budget is, will dictate the quality of those guys.
100%. So I'm a person who really loves to storytell. I like content, but I also am focused on the end goal. I think a lot of creatives, musicians, and even filmmakers, they want, or they like to create content, of course, but also there's a dream to it. But to that dream, there's a strategy. So as someone, a filmmaker who's watching this, it could be a producer or a musician who wants to create that type of content within a strategy. How does one mold that? How does one say, okay, we start from creating this content, but also we want to create an audience. We want, I think, everybody who has an aspiration to get to the next level, they want to make some sort of money from it, monetize it in different ways. How does one get there?
Well, with creating the content, like I said before, it's really what type of content you want to create first. So if you're talking, let's say, music videos, or let's say documentaries or short form, you just in the studio creating stuff, like whatever it is, or if it's a movie that you want to create, whatever it is, first pick out or figure out what type of content you want to create. Then you can pick the type of platform that your type of audience would go to watch your type of content. Once you figure that out, you build your audience, and then of course there's multiple ways to monetize it. And let's say you started on YouTube, you monetize your YouTube page, and you may get some stuff there, but then you want to do your other verticals where you could be selling t-shirts, you could be selling tickets, you could do, like, you could find a spot like this, and you know, um, as you're playing your music on YouTube or Spotify or whatever these platforms are, um, uh, sell tickets to your show, promote a show that you're gonna do live, and sell T-shirts there. I work with comedians, and that's what they do. They're online. They do their little skits, so they're talking online. They talk about the hot topics, and then they have a link to their show, and then they show up with their table, and they're selling T-shirts. They're selling tickets to whatever else that they have going on. Um, and uh, and yeah, there's Amazon, where you can, let's say you did like a documentary. It doesn't matter how long it is. Let's say you did like a 10-15 minute documentary. You could upload it on Amazon like you would do a YouTube,
Right.
but then you could monetize it through Amazon, where, of course, Amazon will take 20%, you get 80%, but you have it on a major platform like that where it looks like you're professional. Um, and then of course, the more views you get, the more the algorithm will put it closer, or put it, bring it up to the levels of other bigger projects so that it get more visibility. You have Vimeo, where you can put your content on Vimeo and monetize it through there. and use YouTube as a platform, a free platform that people could first see if you put a trailer together or if you do something like that. And then send them to Vimeo to watch your content where you have to pay for it, So there's different, it just depends on what type of audience you have.
Right. So creative strategy is very important.
Very important, yeah. You got to put some thought to that, yeah. Just doesn't happen.
So let's get into AI. AI is changing the world, especially in filmmaking. What do you see where do you see AI taking the creative world, especially in the film world, especially in the music videos and whatnot? And what are the cons to what do you see are some risks to this creative strategy for the creators? And where do you see everything going?
Um, I think AI, it's gonna hurt a lot of people, but at the same time, if you really focus on the bigger purpose, which is creating the content that you want to create, which is whether it's music, movies, TV shows, whatever it is, all AI is doing is shrinking the gap between idea to final product. So if you really focus on that versus, of course, let's say you're just a musician and you have no ambition to do anything else,
Right.
it's gonna hurt.
Of course.
But if you can get to outside of that, or well, I mean, even screenplays is gonna take a beating, a lot of those things. But if you're more on the creative end of it, the business end of it, it's actually a good thing because now you can create more, you can create stuff faster, you can get it out there. I'm not crazy about the AI just doing everything for you as far as your creativity. Like, oh,
It's a tool.
yeah, just well, some people are just like, oh, create me a story about some people at a show watching some podcasters, and that's the only thing they say. It creates the whole thing, and then go out and film it. To me, that's not,
Right.
you know what I mean? That's
I agree.
but if you're like, oh, have this character help me describe this character, this lady over here, this lady there, and you really use it to just kind of get you, uh, to make it sound better, if that makes sense, versus it doing it for you. You come up with it, just let it help you make it better, and that's different. So I think AI is going to definitely help a lot of people, but just like in every other industry, especially in the creative industry, you're gonna have authentic people who really love the industry, who really love making movies, who really love making music, who really love making documentaries, and are gonna use it as a tool to make their stuff better. And then you're gonna have the outsider people who just love the glitz and glamour of it,
100%.
who loves the money that it's making, and it's just gonna come in and not care and just, okay, I had this idea, or you got an idea, tell me it, and then you're gonna put it in the system. The AI is gonna create it for them, and then you're gonna put it out. They're not gonna care about, the quality of it or how they just, as long as it's making money, So we're gonna have to battle with that for those people who are the creators who are so. But then a new industry is gonna be created because of that.
So it brings a lot of opportunities.
There is going to be opportunity. We just don't know it yet, or we do know it, but we just don't like fully have a grasp on it yet. You know what I mean?
It hasn't come to full fruition. In other
Well, it hasn't. Yeah, yeah. Because there's a lot of industries in the past that was the biggest thing on earth, and something else came up, and that thing went away. But that new thing created a whole new industry that you could just switch over. But you have to be able to do that. If you get stuck in, we used to have 15 people in a room playing music and everyone had an instrument, and that dies out and you're still stuck on that, and you don't want to pick up an MPC or some new digital thing, you're going to get left behind. We can still do the old stuff,
right.
but it'll take you 2 months to get done what somebody else can do in 5 minutes. So it's like,
100%.
yeah.
Well, is there anything else to add to this conversation as we end it, as we fade out this part of the program? any advice to anybody who will watch this, anybody who's in the audience, anything that comes to mind?
Um, just create whatever you think. And if you really believe in what you're doing, keep doing it and you'll get better at it because the technology is going to help you make it better.
If you can recount any times you leverage technology to help in your practice or anything that you've used that has helped you.
And the the first time I used AI was with a couple of feature films that I produced where it was a studio binder. I mean, that's basically that's basically AI. Where prior to that, it was just you would have to. I mean, it's literally doing everything on the computer, like typing. You had to get your shot list typed up. You had to get your schedules, your day to days, your all the different uh paperwork that you have to put together for a film. You had to individually do it. Where with like a software like Studio Binder, you put the script in, you pick the different type of paperwork that like if you need a day out of days, you need a schedule, you need a character list, you need a props list, and you just click it and it generates it for you, and then you just go in and edit it and refine it. So that's the kind of stuff I'm saying AI is going to help with that. Like, so now I was able to do the job of a couple of people by myself, plus in a shorter time period. You know what I mean? Another way that I've been using it is with screenwriting. I don't tell AI to write it for me, but what I'll do is first I'll write an outline. Then from the outline, I start breaking it down to, of course, like a screenplay. And when I get to action line, so I'm not the most philosophical, metaphorical, like a Quentin Tarantino that writes these crazy words. I just know exactly what I wanted to say. So I'll write it that way, exactly how I see it. I'll put it in AI and I say, make this sound a little bit more cinematic. And then it will rewrite it, same thing I just put into it. And then once it gives me that action line, I'll go in and edit, just kind of tweak it a little bit to give it my voice, but I'll go action for action line. Dialogue, I don't really use it for dialogue because you have to use, it's a true voice there. But for action lines, I use it. And it helps me generate that faster because before I'd write a script and then I'd go back and I'd have to maybe find a dictionary, say, how do I say that better? Or I'll go to Google. But now it's like you put the whole paragraph in, you put it in there, and it gives you different versions of it that you can choose from. So those are some of the ways that I use it. With music, before I get the project to a musician to do a score, I'll do temp music. So I can go to like Artlist or something like that and say, hey, let me, give me something soft and punchy right here. Whatever. I just describe something that I'm looking for and it gives me something. I put it in as temp music and then it helps me speed up the process when I give it to a sound designer or a musician that can they'll see the vision a lot faster at that point, Yeah.
I guess that's what. Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, actually, ada. So actually, I was going to kind of keep the conversation about the music in AI. I'm a producer, and in the sync world, like, do you see more AI music coming to the sync world? Because that will, like you said, like we will have to be very smart, like songwriters and producers. And that gonna affect the writers and the producers and the engineers, because what I see for studios, production studios, like they cut expenses there. They can cut a lot. Like the budget, they can cut expenses by just making AI music for sing a show or or a movie. Do you see that happening or no yet?
It's gonna happen for sure. It's gonna do that with the music. It's gonna do that with, like I said, screenplays. It's gonna do that with I mean, even in lighting, you can relight a scene You know, so AI is gonna affect all of that. I think music is gonna take the biggest hit because it's figured out music the fastest, and that was probably like the first thing it figured out. Let's say, yeah, no, and just be honest, it is. But I feel like if you wait it out, it's gonna get redundant, and the AI is gonna kind of keep repeating the same stuff, and you know, people are not gonna feel the authenticity of it. As human beings, we can feel it. You know what I mean? Like this might be going too left field, but like if you get surgery, they put some artificial thing in your leg. You at some point, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna know that's not really. So people are gonna feel that the music and whatever else AI is doing that was helping people get there faster, um, like they're gonna get used to it, then it's gonna not feel right, and then they're gonna start looking for the musicians again. Like, oh, we need to not just hear it, but we need to see the person who created it, and not just see the person who created it on a screen, but I want to go to a place where I can actually feel and touch this person and shake their hand. So it's gonna come back around. You just have to wait it out. Hopefully, it's not like a lifetime wait, but I feel like it's gonna, you know, come back around.
I guess to Jack, like to second her question, I guess some more go more in depth with her question. As a filmmaker yourself, when it because I know you probably use music or like some kind of score in your own films. So how has that affected you choosing what to use? Because like if you try to work with someone else, like an actual producer, then you gotta wait for them to try to find the right vibe, create something that will fit your thing, and then send it to you. Then you gotta like be like, okay, how about we make those changes? But you could avoid all that by just getting it, fitting it into AI and telling the AI exactly what type of vibe you're going for, and just the AI would deliver in like 5 seconds. Has that of like you as a filmmaker? Does that make you want to be like, you know what? I don't need a producer if I can get an AI to do it in 5 seconds versus waiting on 2 weeks for a producer to send it back to me. Has that, have you come across that? Or when you do come across that kind of situation, how will you handle that? And what are the pros and cons of both situations?
So far for me, I've only seen the pros in it. Because I still love the process of sitting with another person and creating. But I also I have experienced things taking a lot longer than it should because you're dealing with another person, because now you have to give them an idea, say it, because I can't say nothing. Them create something, then I got to go and keep fine tuning it back and forth. Now with AI, we can, like I say, we can just shorten that process. I can go and tell AI what I originally meant. I can sit and sift through what I want to find, take it, put it as a temp, and then have the artist actually still create something from that point. Unless it's like a little, like if I was creating like a little short film or something small, yeah, it may just be all AI as far as music or stuff like that. Or if I just know a friend who's really cool and they're down to rock with me, we'll create something together. But if I'm gonna go shoot a feature film, I'm not putting all AI view. I'm not like, I'm working with an artist and we're gonna create this thing. You know what I mean?